The club hierarchy view the disastrous 2025-26 campaign as a warning sign that major structural and cultural reform is required if Spurs are to avoid another collapse next season. Tottenham Hotspur are reportedly stepping up their interest in Savinho, with the Manchester City winger emerging as a part of a potential double summer signing that could also see goalkeeper James Trafford arrive in North London. Tottenham Hotspur's proposed move for Andy Robertson is reportedly in jeopardy after Italian giants Juventus made a late attempt to hijack the deal. And a report claims that Palhinha wants to be a Tottenham player next season and believes that this dreadful campaign will make the club stronger. Here are your daily Tottenham news headlines. Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name's Craig and here are your daily Tottenham news headlines, where I'll be going through all the latest news, rumours and reports. If you're watching on YouTube and are not already as yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Like, share and comment below. And if you're listening on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. Please make sure you turn on the notification bell so you get notified whenever we go live or upload a video to the channel. Okay, let's get into it. Football 365 report that Tottenham Hotspur have already begun drawing up a never again action plan after narrowly avoiding relegation, with sweeping changes expected under new head coach Roberto De Zerbi. According to reports, the club hierarchy view the disastrous campaign as a warning sign that major structural and cultural reform is required if Spurs are to avoid another collapse next season. Despite securing Premier League survival with a tense final day victory over Everton, the mood around the club remains deeply uneasy. De Zerbi has reportedly made it clear that only a core group of players are good enough to stay, with the Italian planning a ruthless summer rebuild. One of the biggest talking points surrounds club captain Cristian Romero. The defender came under fierce criticism, of course, after initially travelling to Argentina during Tottenham's relegation battle, with former Spurs manager Glenn Hoddle and pundit Gary Neville both questioning his leadership and commitment. Neville labelled the situation a bad decision and claimed it highlighted a disconnect between players and supporters. Romero, of course, eventually returned to London for the decisive Everton clash, but speculation continues to grow that he could leave the club this summer amid interest from abroad. Reports suggest De Zerbi is prepared to move on high-profile players if he feels they do not fit the mentality required for the rebuild. In contrast, Mickey van der Ven has emerged as one of the few players to enhance his reputation during the survival fight. The Dutch defender was praised for his performances in the closing weeks of the campaign, with some reports suggesting he is now viewed internally as a future leadership figure at the club. Van der Ven himself admitted he was embarrassed Spurs had allowed the situation to deteriorate so badly. The wider rebuild is expected to include experienced additions, leadership changes and a stronger emphasis on squad mentality after Tottenham's alarming decline over the past two seasons. Suggestions in the media have included stripping Romero of the captaincy, reshaping the dressing room hierarchy and giving De Zerbi greater control over recruitment. De Zerbi, however, has insisted he remains fully committed to the club despite the chaos of the campaign. The Italian described survival as one of the greatest achievements of his career so far, and vowed that Spurs would learn from the humiliation of their near relegation. Tottenham Hotspur have reportedly reignited their pursuit of Manchester City winger Savinho as part of an ambitious double swoop that could also bring goalkeeper James Trafford to North London this summer. According to Team Talk, Spurs have reopened discussions over a deal for the Brazilian international after previously seeing a £60 million bid rejected by City last year. The report claims the club remain convinced Savinho would add pace, creativity and flair to their attack, with renewed talks said to be underway amid uncertainty over the winger's long-term role at the Etihad. The 22-year-old was heavily linked with Spurs during the previous transfer window and was believed to be open to the move in search of more regular first-team football. However, Manchester City opted to retain him as part of Pep Guardiola's plans. Spurs are now hoping circumstances have changed sufficiently to tempt City into negotiations. Savinho is not the only City player on Tottenham's radar. Team Talk also report that Spurs remain strong admirers of England goalkeeper James Trafford, who has emerged as a major target as the club assesses its goalkeeping options ahead of next season. Trafford, who rejoined Manchester City from Burnley in 2025, is viewed internally at Spurs as a long-term number one option. Roberto De Zerbi is said to be a particularly keen admirer of the 23-year-old, with the Italian believed to want significant reinforcements as part of the wider rebuild at the club. The report suggests Tottenham could face competition for Trafford's signature, however, from several Premier League rivals, including Newcastle, Aston Villa, and while Juventus have also been linked with the goalkeeper. If completed, the double deal could cost Spurs close to £90 million, signalling a major statement of intent ahead of the new campaign as the club looks to overhaul a squad that has endured a turbulent season. And Tottenham Hotspur's proposed move for Andy Robertson has reportedly been thrown into doubt after Italian giants Juventus made a late attempt to hijack the deal. According to TalkSport, the Scotland captain had been expected to join Spurs on a free transfer once his contract with Liverpool expires this summer. Spurs are believed to have held a verbal agreement with the experienced left-back since January, although no formal contract has yet been signed. The report claims that Tottenham's interest was initially dependent on the club securing Premier League survival, something they achieved after a difficult campaign which ended with a 17th place finish, of course. However, Juventus have now entered the race and are said to be weighing up a formal offer in an attempt to lure Robertson to Serie A instead. Robertson, 31, is preparing to leave Liverpool after a hugely successful 9-year spell at Anfield, in which he won multiple major honours, including the Premier League and Champions League. The defender made 378 appearances for the Reds and played his final match for the club in a 1-1 draw with Brentford. Despite Juventus' late intervention, Spurs, however, remain confident they can complete the signing, with reports suggesting by Fabrizio Romano the player may favour remaining in England. New Tottenham boss Roberto De Zerbi is believed to see Robertson's experience and leadership as key additions as the club plans a major rebuild this summer. Football.London report that Palhinha wants to be a Tottenham player next season and believes that this dreadful campaign will make the club stronger. Palhinha, who turns 31 next month, is on loan from Bayern Munich, and Tottenham have an option to bring him in permanently this summer for 25.8 million or 30 million euros. Head coach Roberto De Zerbi wants the club to sign the experienced midfielder, but that previously agreed price tag might need some renegotiating for a player in his 30s. Palhinha has made it clear that he wants to be wearing the Spurs shirt again next season. I always shared my thoughts since the first day I arrived. I feel at home from the supporters, the crowd, top club. Who doesn't want to play for Tottenham? And I stay here. I have everything here, he said. But this is like a marriage. What I can say to you is I would really like to be here, and I enjoy it a lot this season with this club, even being a tough season. Palhinha continued, I think the next season will be really, hopefully, be very different, and I truly believe that. I think this season will help Tottenham for the future, he explained. Analyse the season and what we did wrong, what we did well, and I think it's a big improvement and a big relief after the season. Let's see now. Okay, here's my thoughts on those stories today. Still got this sense of relief, part of me thinks, did it actually happen? Are we still safe? Of course we are, but, living in that for so long, for months, worrying about Spurs, and then that finally been lifted, that cloud has been lifted, it is a great feeling, I have to say. Firstly, the never again plan. Well, look, we're not going to know until the end of the transfer window whether these promises from ENIC and the board, Langer, Vinay Venkatesham, whoever you want to call it, the whole management structure really, we're not going to know till the end of the transfer window just how serious the club is. In my opinion, they have to act this summer. They have to go big. They have to get in ready-made players and have a decent clear out of players that De Zerbi just doesn't want. And there's probably going to be some players depart that the fan base are going to be a bit gutted about. I mean, I've seen a lot of fans saying they don't really rate a lot of our squad, but I think, to be honest, under the right manager, and De Zerbi is that right manager, that there is a good core group of players there, but it is getting rid of the ones that De Zerbi doesn't want. And I think there's going to be some difficult decisions, but more importantly than that, bringing in squad depth. We all know how it affected us this season, especially between January and the end of the season. You know, massive mistakes by the club and Johan Lange. I mean, that hasn't really aged well, has it? Lange's February transfer window rap saying they didn't want to panic. I think we was all panicking come April. Bad decisions for years, let's face it, under this ownership. And they have to change. Simple as that. They have to change. And Spurs, we do not want to be in another relegation battle next year. You see it time and time again with clubs. Once they're down there, you know, I heard the phrase circling the plug hole. How many, you know, eventually you're going to go down it. So we need to do things differently. And leading on from that nicely is these early rumours of transfers, and of course we've had these before, Savinho and Trafford. Savinho, obviously, we've been keen on for a number of transfer windows now, never really got the deal done. Apparently this was the player was keen, but for whatever reason, I think Pep wanted to hold on to Savinho. So in the end, Manchester City didn't want to sell, but Pep's now gone. So does that change the landscape at City? You'd think it would. Savinho, obviously, keen on the Spurs move, as I say. Spurs still keen on Savinho, and he would be a major coup for the club, as would James Trafford, of course. Getting in a backup goalkeeper. Is Vicario going to go? It looks like it, although we don't know. But again, big changes. Would Trafford be number one? Would he be battling Kinski for that number one? Would Kinski be number one? These are all good choices and options for Roberto De Zerbi next season. We just want to build a squad. He said he wants a squad with 2 players in every position, top players in every position, so the level doesn't drop off if a player gets injured or the like. So there's already options that we're hearing. There's already players that we're hearing about that Spurs are going to go for. We need to see action. We need to see action this transfer window. Going to be difficult, of course, because of the World Cup. That does change it slightly, especially during June. I can't imagine there'll be tons of deals done during the World Cup. But before that, get these deals in place. And one of those deals, of course, is Andy Robertson from Liverpool. Supposed to sign him in January, but that never happened. We was going to go back in for him in the summer transfer window. That looks like it's happening. Yes, there is rumours that Juventus could want to hijack the deal, but sounds like it's just down to the player. From Fabrizio Romano, basically it's down to the player now what he wants. And sounds like he had a gentleman's agreement in place with Spurs. Yes, that doesn't mean anything. Nothing been signed or written down and signed on paper yet, but looks like the player wants to come to Tottenham. I think he'd be a really good addition at pushing Udogie at left back. We've never really had a proper left back to push Udogie. Yes, Jed Spence's fitted in there well and played well sometimes, but you'd see Jed Spence and Pedro Porro battling it out for the right back slot. So it would be good to get in an established left back. And of course, with his leadership skills as well, Robertson would be a really good deal for Spurs, in my opinion. And finally, Palhinha. I've said before many times, this is the sort of player we need to keep hold of at Spurs. His passion, his goals this season have really dug us out of holes many times. You don't really associate Palhinha with scoring goals, but he's popped up with some really important goals for us. The Wolves one, for example, and of course the final day of the season against Everton, which got us over the line. I loved Palhinha's aggression and passion and leadership, essentially, and he's the sort of player that it seems like Roberto De Zerbi loves as well. So let's try and get the Palhinha deal done, and you would imagine they would try and negotiate a slightly lower fee for that. But how many times have we been caught out trying to negotiate a lower fee and the player goes somewhere else? If it doesn't look like Bayern Munich are are going to move on it. If De Zerbi wants the player, just go and get him, Tottenham. Just go and get him. And then you can say you've done all you can to help this manager, because time and time again, they haven't done enough. And that was nearly our downfall this season. That's all from me today. Get down in the comments, let me know your thoughts on all those stories today and how you're feeling as a Tottenham Hotspur fan right now. And as always, come on you Spurs.